Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, 1, 2. Hey there, hi there, ho there. Hello again. This is RHJunior, RHJunior Reality Check, coming to you live over the system of boob tubes known as YouTube, bringing a little bitty broadcast that I like to call Spleen Squeezins. And the music is just lying there dying, not doing anything. I want my music back. I lost my my snazzy, snappy, regular soundtrack. I can't seem to get it to work right. Come on. Testing, testing. I can't tell if my voice is too loud in this. I can't tell the audio levels very easily. I don't know what I'm okay, I didn't tune in last night. I was basically feeling like crap yesterday, and not feeling so hot today. And the reason I'm late is because the darn computer program decided at the last minute to have a hissy fit and say, time for an update! And so I had to update my OBS. Hopefully it runs a little better now, maybe. One might hope. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just... Okay, updated, noted, posted, pasted, whatever. Okay, I need some animated GIFs for this background thing I've got going on. Here, one thing I'm going to change. Let's see here. Time between slides. I'm going to increase the amount of time each slide is up. Get a better look at it. Yeah, okay. I want more animated stuff like this to add to my files. I'm still not sure if it's actually looking at all the files I have, or whether it's just stopping at one folder. I'm itchy. I got bugs. A little. I always have bugs. It's summer. It's August. Well, actually, it's September. As of 8 hours, like 20 hours ago, it is now September. That reminds me. I gotta stop. Ouch! 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 Congratulations, managed to find a thumbtack. Brilliant. Gotta tell Taskeasy to go bye-bye. Cancel my service until next year. I'm not gonna, after all I've gone through, after all I've paid them, they've made like $300 off of me for 2 mows. Wait a minute. The first time they had to come in with like tractors and crap to get, so it's a fair thing, But after. If I have to, if it really gets shaggy before fall really sets in, I'll just track down one of my neighbors again. But $80 a month, that's what it comes to. $40 every 2 weeks. Okay. Order new task. Upgrade bi-weekly. Purchase aeration. This is a more fancy service for people with more money. It's not really meant for poor shut-ins or anything like that. I'm trying to find out how to cancel this service. It's interesting, apply to our service, but and then they go to incredible lengths to hide how to end your service. And they got a 1-800 number to call. It's cancel my service. Let's see. I don't want to cancel my service. I want to cancel my account. Let's see. If I can't figure out how to okay, close. If I can't figure out how to end the account. Great. I'm gonna have to wait until I'm gonna have to wait until Monday before I can call them and cancel that service. So. Typical. Fortunately, I've canceled it. You're not gonna drop a surprise on me at the last minute. Thankfully, I managed to arrange for that to be avoided. Man, I made a bad discovery. Those frozen burritos, those frozen breakfast. Don't just refrigerate them. Don't just refrigerate them. You do not want a refrigerated bacon and egg burrito. Trust me. I cooked up. I had a couple of bacon and egg burritos. Egg. Actually, sausage, egg, potato. I cook them up, and the eggs in them had gone bad. And I took a big old bite. And that was a learning experience. Let's leave it at that. It's a rather just horrible learning experience. Yeah. I want to free. Excuse me. Let me get my drawing tablet out. Get it set up. Still shuffling things around on this desk. I'm gonna let's see, checking something. I ran out of some household stuff, and the girl I usually hire to do odd jobs, the odd job girl, I tried to call her, her phone's not where you know. Her number no longer exists. She forgot to pay her bill again. So away we go. Okay, we got 3 people in here. Say something. Are we talking? Are we talking? Yeah, I got a microphone on. Good. Please, are you watching? I got 3 people in channel. That's 3 people that need to speak up. Come into channel, say hello. The chat room channel, come on. Hello, Daniel. Okay. Hey, Daniel. Oh, I sent out your DVD, your Girls of Summer DVD. It should arrive in the mail in a few days. I sent out everybody's Girls of Summer DVD in the mail. It should arrive in a few days. So, yay. Just look for... What are we doing today, Eddie? The same thing we try to do every night. Yeah, I don't know. Well, I'm planning on doing some drawing once I get the rigmarole set up here. I want to finish. I want to at least finish up that commission I started the other night. And let's see. Let's see. Gmail. Try and do some drawing. Doggone it. Monday. I need to call the. Oh, I hate doing this, but I'm gonna have to. I'm gonna have to call the doctor, and I'm gonna have to call the arbors, you know, the health clinic, and gonna talk to him and ask him, you know, it's been a year. Could I possibly arrange another stay at the clinic for the sake of my legs? Because I just don't have the setup here. I don't have a way. It's stupid. It's really stupid. I live in a trailer. It's filled with junk. It's filled with trash right now. It's got bags of trash everywhere. And but it's a junk-filled trailer. I do not have any way I can just simply lie in bed with my feet elevated. If I put one of those foot cushions in there, I'm not sure I could get in the bed. I wouldn't be able to lift my legs up onto the cushion. All these people just stick some pillows under your. They don't realize that the gymnastics involved are beyond me at this point. And, well, fully on it. I feel guilty for even thinking of going to this clinic. Basically, it consists of me just lying in bed 24/7 with my feet in one of these mechanical hospital beds with my feet elevated and my legs wrapped. That's all. And I can't seem to manage that on. Any reasonable person should be able to manage that on their own. But I guess I'm not a reasonable person because my bed is an old futon. It's one of those fold-out futon type beds. It's folds up into a sort of a couch thing and then folds out into a great big bed thing, but it doesn't have any way I could just getting in and out of bed is something of an exercise. So and when they say things like stay in bed, keep your feet elevated, they're assuming that you've got. Well, the general assumption is that you've got somebody else living with you who can help you climb in and out of the thing, and who can take care of things while you stay in bed. And when you're on your own, when you're all by your lonesome, and you can't even take care of things now, I really don't. At the same time, a phooey on it. I don't know. You know, 21st century, and the best that they can offer me as treatment for my legs is elevate them. That's great if we lived in a world built for recliners on wheels. We are not a society exactly built for the marginally disabled. You know what I'm saying? You know, half the jobs in our society assume the ability to stand in dress shoes for 8 hours at a time. Think about that. You know, the last basically paycheck type job I had was working in a booth for a company. We you know those people that give out samples at grocery stores and department stores and stuff. That was us. You know, usually we set up in the same store week after week after week, but usually, you know, every now and then we'd set up in a different store in the next county over or something, things like that. Handing out everything from samples of glass cleaner to you know, with little glass cleaning tissues to samples of air freshener to little samples of chocolate. You know, just about anything you could imagine. But one of the requirements was that you had to, you know, you were there 4 to 6 hours, and you had to be standing. You couldn't sit on a stool because some pointy-haired thud pucker in the rear echelons had decided that didn't look professional. And so you had to, this was a job for people who, you know, is a secondary income generally, for older women and for men like myself. You know, it was you know, scratch money for most people. But you know, and you had these women with, you know, just I can't imagine the pain some of them went through, just standing there 8 hours, just 4, 6, 8 hours. But I reached a point where, you know, my legs got so bad I couldn't stand anymore. I started bringing a cane to lean on, and people were and people in the upper rear echelons were getting all bent out of shape out of that. And eventually reached a point, and they kept cutting back all our hours, cutting back our hours. You know, I was traveling literally. You know, I was driving all this way for maybe 2 days a week. And finally, I said, you know, the cost-benefit analysis had reached negative points, and I just couldn't stand anymore. The next time I saw the store, I was riding one of those little scooters. So there you have it. It happens, you know. Yeah, I've asked about those. I've looked into them. Every time we start looking into it, it turns into a rigmarole runaround. Yeah, there's all sorts of requirements. You have to get, and for my legs, you'd have to get them specially made. And Medicaid doesn't cover that. Yeah, I know. It basically is air pump things that you stick your legs in, inflatable booties. And every time I talk to a doctor, I talk to, oh, we'll be looking into this. We've already started the paperwork and doing this and then it turns out that there's some sort of obstacle or other, and oh, well, it just doesn't go anywhere. Aggravating. Oh, Chiron or Canon in My Little Pony, I'm assuming? Very nice. I haven't watched an episode in a couple of seasons. And now I'm sitting here thinking, you know, this used to be something I watched because I loved it. Now I'm sitting here thinking that I ought to watch it because I'm obligated to. I'm not sure how I should feel about that. I'll show you. I mean, when a fandom, when something you do for fun turns into, a stressful job. Mark, basically a Chiron is a Chinese version of a unicorn. That's how it's described, but it's not even close of a description. You have to look it up. There's a lot of various portrayals of what they look like. Well, before anything else, before getting any fancy $1,000 equipment to strap to my legs, the first goal would be to get the size of my legs down to a reasonable amount so that I could actually get them in the machine. So that's the first step I got to do, which, like it did last time, requires literally being bedridden for 2 weeks. And if you're going to be bedridden for 2 weeks, you need somebody to basically be there watching you, running errands for you, and taking care of you. And, yeah, well, basically you need a nurse. Precisely. Mark Harris. That's one. I had Chiron make an appearance in the Nixverse stories. I think one of my favorite episodes of My Little Pony was the number 100 episode, the 100th episode, where they literally threw every fan trope in there, and you're like, and you're sitting there, you're a My Little Pony fan, and it's, oh my gosh, it's Time Turner. Oh, and he's dating Derpy Hooves. Oh, look, and there's Button Mash. Oh, and there's this, and oh yeah, the two musical ponies do share an apartment, and up and down the line. And all the fanboys, all the My Little Pony fanboys, myself included, were freaking out because it was so awesome. It was nice to see that. Yeah, they're paying that. At least at that point, they were paying attention to the audience, even if it wasn't the one that they were supposed to be targeting. And they're going to spend the rest of the next century wondering what the heck happened here. Yeah, the online air, the consumer grade air relax things you're talking about, Dan. I remember that the airline catalog, for the airports, whatever they were called, they were selling those too. It's interesting, it's probably the exact same equipment, but you get the medical grade, which means that it's got a stamp of approval from some medical institute, from the FDA or and suddenly the price octuples. But to be fair, one of the main problems with medical equipment and medicine, the FDA. This is point out. There is an online video on YouTube called "When Caution Kills." I've actually played it on the show a couple of times because I feel the message is so important. You know, you get a lot of people, you try and talk about privatizing most industry and how the government shouldn't be doing this. They say things, well, what about the FDA? What about the FDA? And you sort of left there floundering because we've literally lived so long with the FDA, playing Mother May I with a government agency as to what kind of medicines we can use, that people can't believe that the FDA could possibly be improved upon. And well, you look at this fully on it. I'm going to play it. Check with it. Let me pull up the video. It's that important. It's called it's by Learn Liberty. The Learn Liberty channel. It's called the Most Dangerous Monopoly: When Caution Kills. I'm just setting up the window capture. Cancel plus window capture. Okay. And here we go. I'll turn up the sound a little bit so you can hear it better.
All of us want assurance that the things we buy are safe. What's the best way for us to get it? One way is to have a government agency assess products and allow or forbid their sale. This is the way it works for medicines. The Food and Drug Administration requires and oversees lengthy, expensive tests of each new drug. Based on those tests, it decides whether or not that drug may be used. A different approach is to allow competing private firms to assess the products and give each one a rating. Customers decide for themselves whether to buy or not based on these ratings. This is the way it works for thousands of products, from toasters and hair dryers to insulation and bulletproof vests. Manufacturers hire a private certification firm, such as Underwriters Laboratories, to evaluate their product's design and manufacturing process and to test it. If the product passes, the certifier's logo is added to it. Manufacturers pay for private certification because it increases sales. Customers who see the logo know that the product has passed rigorous safety tests, and they are more likely to buy it as a result. Stores also value assurances of product safety. They don't want unhappy customers or lawsuits from selling things that turn out to be harmful, so they'll pay extra to stock certified products. Certification firms such as Underwriters Laboratories have no monopoly. They have competitors. Accordingly, they have a strong incentive to be cautious, but also fast and affordable for manufacturers. On the one hand, they depend on their reputations for trustworthiness built up over the years. A certifier who puts its logo on a product that turns out to be dangerous ends up with a damaged reputation, and a higher likelihood that manufacturers will use a competing certifier in the future. On the other hand, if a certifier is overcautious and takes a long time on costly extra testing that delays a product from getting to market, or if it refuses to certify a product that turns out to be safe, again it will lose customers. Self-interest pushes these competing certifiers to avoid both kinds of mistakes. neither certifying dangerous products nor refusing to certify safe ones. Compare this to a government agency that has a monopoly on deciding whether a good becomes available. Its incentives are very different. What happens when such an agency approves a dangerous product that ends up causing harm? There are serious consequences for the careers of the officials who let that happen. As a result, they become excessively cautious. They take so long on costly extra testing that they do delay products from getting to market. When the product is a life-saving medicine, people die who could have been saved. Unlike a voluntary certification firm, a monopoly government agency faces no check on this kind of caution. If the agency rejects a product that's safe or takes years for additional tests, the manufacturer cannot turn to another certifier. No other certifiers are permitted. The government agency doesn't have to worry about losing revenue or going out of business because it's funded by taxation and not by the voluntary payments of its manufacturer customers. How much safety is the right amount? It is always possible to test a product one more time before selling it, but the tests cost time and resources to run, so the more rigorous the safety testing procedures, the more a manufacturer must charge to cover its costs, and the less money it has to invest in new products. Who should decide at what point the cost of more tests becomes too high? Under monopolized government safety regulation, government officials decide. Under voluntary certification in a free market, everyone decides for him or herself, usually with the help of certification agencies and professionals such as doctors and pharmacists who make it their business to learn all they can about the products they advise us to use. Instead of the one-size-fits-all approach in which the government bans all products that fail to meet arbitrarily determined criteria, the market process creates and communicates various assurances of product safety, and each buyer decides for him or herself.
I've played that a lot. I play that a lot. And I'm probably going to get a copyright notification. I do. This is for educational purposes, just the same as the original posting. So I don't believe I'm violating any copyright. But the reason I bring this up, the reason I talk about this, the reason because we live in a society where we have become so accustomed to having the government make quality assurances for everything that quality assurances that it cannot possibly deliver on. Instead of having say, let's talk about shoes. Suppose governments were in charge of shoes. Instead of having a shoemaker give you assurances about the quality of a shoe, what do you have? You have a government bureaucrat assuring you about the quality of the shoes. It just doesn't follow. It's you get all these people. We live in a society where people are so used to the government providing, the government being the caretaker and provider and assurer of quality, that we no longer are capable of thinking for ourselves about how quality should be assured. I know for years, until I saw this video, for years I was flummoxed by this 1.1 all stop argument. Yeah, but what about the FDA? I mean, I am as capitalist as the next conservative, and I'm as libertarian as the next, and yet somebody points out, but if we don't have the FDA, we forget two things. One, the world existed before the FDA. Two, the only people who are assuring us of the value and the effectiveness of the FDA is largely the FDA. Are you doing a great job, FDA? Oh yeah, we're doing a great job keeping you people safe. What is missed is that they're also doing a great job of keeping us safe from things that we don't need protecting from. And in fact, killing people by forcing them to wait for cures that have already been discovered decades ago, but haven't met the approval of some bureaucrat in the FDA system. No, but the world would be so much more dangerous without government. Are we sure? First of all, yeah, the world would probably have a lot more risk. It would. What they mean by that is that people would have to actually get off their duffs and do a little homework before buying a product or service, rather than relying on a government stamp on the side. Everybody, the liberals love to bring up that one book, The Jungle. It was supposedly a huge expose on how vile and filthy and nasty the meat processing industry was in the United States back at the turn of the century. The turn of the previous century, that is. Problem is, outside of the fact that most of the facts, quote unquote, were exaggerated, you know who backed financially the big push for huge government regulation to come in, and ensure that all the food was nice and safe and clean and all that other stuff? The big meat packing process, the big meat packing companies. You know why they did? Because they knew, or thought at least, that these big, it was an easy way to eliminate the smaller competitors. This is an angle most people don't consider. The meatpacking plants, the fuss budgets come in and start making demands about about various things, like we need you to do, we need to wash this so many often, and have a counter this so long, and use knives made of this and that, and so forth. And for a huge meat processing company, for a big meat packing company, that was a penny ante cost. But for their up and coming competitors, these all a sudden huge legislative burden put them out of business. In the end, what it did, it didn't help make meats. It didn't necessarily make the food industry particularly safer beyond a certain point, so much as it made it easier for the big companies to monopolize. It's a rough road. It's a rough road. People are terrified of the idea of a libertarian society, because in a libertarian society, it wouldn't be particularly any more dangerous than any other society. But what it would be is one where you were required to be responsible for your own actions. That everybody, great and small, would be held accountable for their stupidities. What's more, as one libertarian writer put it, suppose that public school education was started at the age of 6 months, and of course one of the first things that these school teachers would offer would be teaching the child how to walk. Within a single generation, everyone in the United States would be convinced that you would be unable to learn how to walk without a public school teacher teaching you. That is how inoculated we are against. This is how conditioned we are, and we don't even realize it. We're like a goldfish. We don't realize how small the bowl is. And as another example, suppose that the only people who could provide shoes were government-run stores. The shoes would be as uncomfortable as hell and be as ugly as the boxes they came in. But people would be convinced. If you suppose you went to a country where the government bought and sold all the shoes, and the only way to get a shoe was from a government store, and you suggested to these people that it would be better off privatized, they would scream. They would go into hysterics. They would burst into tears and say that you wanted little old ladies and orphans to walk around barefoot in the snow. Kind of like they do whenever you suggest that that maybe any one of the thousands of handout and entitlement programs in our government need to be trimmed back. Oh, you want You could take the, if you suggest, think about it, if you tried to describe to the land of government shoes, if you tried to describe to the people that live there, American shoe industry, you describe everything from Gucci to Payless. And you would point out that, and they say, but what about the widows and orphans? And you'd say, but, in this society, everybody has shoes. Almost nobody goes barefoot in our society. They would laugh you to scorn. They would laugh you to ridicule. They would consider you a loony, a flake, a nut, an idiot, a delusional dreamer for thinking that people would be perfectly capable of putting shoes on their own damn feet and learning to walk without a government school teacher to hold their hand when they're 6 months old. And you see, look at think of the sacred cows you have, you personally. Suppose I suggested that public schools should be privatized, that the government should be thrown out, and that they should put the schools up on auction blocks, and that they should be run by corporations. And that mandatory attendance was no longer required. Look, real big sign that an idea is bad. That they present it as beneficial and If they present an idea as being charitable, and then hold a gun to your head to force you to participate, guess what? It's a bad idea. They know it's a bad idea. They know it's a terrible idea, but they're going to force you to do it anyway. It's going to suck, and it's going to cost millions, and it's probably going to kill people. And and once it's well underway and nobody can shake it off anymore, they'll sit around feeling smug and self-confident and patting themselves on the back about how noble and enlightened and compassionate they are. Suggest to somebody that the government shouldn't be running schools. Suggest to somebody the idea that here's a real shocking idea. Imagine that you no longer needed a government license to run a business or be a doctor or do a number of 1,000 other things. But how would we be sure that they? How did they used to be before they started issuing government licenses? Well, first of all, by the doctor's reputation. Second of all, by the degree they got. They forget that while you can privatize any industry, you can also privatize the industry that checks them for quality. And that's a thought that doesn't even enter most people's heads. Suggest to somebody that libraries, the public library. Oh, I was horrified at this idea, but I realized, first of all, I'd have to be consistent. Second of all, I think that private, auctioning off the public libraries as to private organization, I think they would be run better. School children go to public libraries for research. People who want to do real research go to privately owned ones. They go to ones owned by universities and colleges and medical schools and by private organizations. Yeah, you read up on how some of these public libraries are run. You'd be horrified. I found out to my horror, these organizations, these schools, these public libraries rather, not these schools, the public libraries, government-run libraries, routinely throw books out by the bucket, by the wheelbarrow full. They don't sell them. There's a small fraction of the books that they get rid of are actually sold in these penny sales that you see. Most of them are just dumped. And they had cases where some of these libraries, they were going back and people were freaking because the books being thrown out were hundreds of years old. Some of them even had, some of them were priceless. by any rational standard. They had notes in the margins by the original author. These things were pieces of history, and libraries are throwing them out. In fact, they go out of their way to destroy the book to make sure that nobody salvages them from the dumpster. That's how farked up your local government-run library is. And good night almighty, see what you can take a good long look at how the government handles running the art industry. National Endowment for the Arts, good Lord. They're smoking crack and eating a big old bowl of stupid flakes every morning. Okay, all right, let me see. I gotta look at commissions here. Dark blue suit with a black tie and gold frame glasses. Okay, size of one of those. Okay, yeah. Okay. Can't see that. I'm gonna have to go digging around, find the commission, and pull that up. My knuckles hurt. Let's see, commissions. It takes forever for it to open up. Why is it that my music, no matter what music I play, it always has the same 2 or 3 stupid songs that keep repeating themselves? Ugh. I'm having a little trouble. I got little fruit fly type flies flying around my desk. I've sprayed 3 times with black flag, and they won't go away. I've got fly strips hanging over my desk, and it's not doing a job. It's getting infuriating. I hate bugs. You know, I've lived in cold, wet environments, cold, dry environments, and hot, wet environments. I've lived in Chattanooga, Tennessee. I've lived in Ohio, and I have lived, pretty much every state between Ohio and Florida, close to it, and it's not likely to happen now. I'm a little too old for moving yet again. But I always wanted, just for like a year, to try living in a hot, dry environment, just to see if I maybe liked it a little better. But it's a dry heat. A bonfire's a dry heat. Come on. As I said before, it's always fun. People give me a animal to draw, and they'll give me like 10,000 pages of descriptions. And okay, you get two things. You get two kinds of things. People, you say, okay, you want a cameo picture, you want a picture of a character. I need a description, and they proceed to give you their life story of their character. Their personality, their likes and dislikes, and their past, and their ethnic background, and all this other stuff. When all you wanted was a physical description, and by the time they're done, you're going, okay, is it a dog or a cat? And then they take forever to get back to you with that information. Now that they've sent you the character's autobiography, they want to. But that's one thing people do when they make a commission. Someday you just want to grab him by the collar and go, "What does he look like?" Then you got the other people that say, I want my character to be this, exotic, rare, particular species of feline, which is only known of in Borneo. Oh, you can recognize them by the very unique pattern of spots that run down the center of the back, and draw them in a three-piece suit. What? Huh? I mean, you got that whole Alvin and the Chipmunks thing. Come on, people. Have you ever seen Alvin and the Chipmunks? Would you know that those three gopher-looking freaks were chipmunks unless somebody told you? No, you wouldn't. You wouldn't. Nobody would. That's what they look like. They look like gophers. They look like woodchucks. I bet the guy that invented the whole Alvin and Chip wanted to kill the artist that came up with that look for them. There's a really old album cover of the first time the Alvin and the Chipmunks. It was a picture of actual chipmunks. They look like actual chipmunks, with the stripes and the tails and little tails and everything, and they were wearing little shirts, but And then the next time you look, they're wearing those full body shirts that are all the way down to the floor, and well, there you go. They look nothing like any chipmunk that ever walked the face of the earth, outside of the fact that they're 4 feet tall. Give the movies that much credit. Those awful movies, they were actually chipmunk-sized. Oh, my crap, Holy crap. They actually went there. You know what makes those movies so bad? Okay, I've seen, ever since, this is the difference between Who Framed Roger Rabbit and the Chipmunks movies, or that Easter movie Hops, or that movie with Beatrix Potter's characters, Peter Cottontail and all that. Or countless others you could name. The main problem is that the people that did the Chipmunks movies forgot that it was the chipmunks that were the cartoon characters, not the human beings. They make the same mistake over and over again. The people, they do the mixed animation. They put Yogi Bear in there, and with real live human actors. And the problem is that the real live human actors act weirder and stupider than the cartoon characters do. And it's like sucking vinegar through your teeth while chewing tinfoil. The thing that made Who Framed Roger Rabbit's the movie Who Framed Roger Rabbit sell is the fact that Roger Rabbit acted like Roger Rabbit, while the human actor, the human detective, acted like a human being would when surrounded by living cartoons. AKA like a human being still. The character. What was the name of the detective in that movie? But he could pull off the gags when he went to Two Town, because he was a human detective who used to run that beat. He knew his way around, but he still acted like a human being. He didn't act like he suddenly turned, like his brains suddenly turned into ink and paint. Meanwhile, on the other hand, you got like you remember what was that Disney movie with the bears? The Country Bears. The human beings acted stupider and weirder than the bears did. The whole thing that sells a movie like that is the idea of cartoon characters or fantasy characters being dropped into the real world and totally throwing normal human beings for a loop. That's the whole story. The normal human beings trying to cope with something so surreal. That's what makes it a great movie. That's what makes the good ones, hilarious. It's but when the humans act as weird and mentally damaged as the cartoon characters, or dumber than the cartoon characters, it doesn't work. The only one that has successfully pulled that off has been Jim Henson, with the Muppet movie, and and let's be honest, all the way up to Muppet Treasure Island. But his stuff was a whole different world. You know what I'm saying? His stuff was a whole different alchemy. Nobody else can do it the same way he did. And I really wish they'd stop trying, because it's really grating. And quite frankly, his design, Jim Henson's heirs are lousy at it. They're terrible at it. They can't catch the magic like he does. And I really wish they'd stop trying. Now, where was how many of you saw Hop? This came out like, oh goodness, 5 years ago. 5, 6 years ago. It was a movie, is a live action movie with a CGI Easter bunny. You know, is set. You know, the idea is that the new Easter bunny doesn't want to be the Easter bunny. He wants to be a drummer, a rock and roll drummer. And he stumbles across this human being who can't make a go at anything. And this guy decides that he wants to be the Easter bunny. And it's as stupid as it sounds. And well, most of it was pretty absolutely horrible, because they had a couple of moments in there that just split your guts funny, but they really weren't worth the whole movie, you know. And I am never going to be able to, I saw, let's put it this way, I saw, their idea of humor. I'm never going to be able to eat a jelly bean with a clean conscience ever again. One of their brilliant gags for this movie was the revelation that jelly beans are actually Easter bunny poop. Some retard in Hollywood thought that was just knee-slapping funny. And the rest of us have to suffer for it, basically. Suffer with the knowledge this movie exists. I have to. I can't help but think that that they're doing it deliberately. Sometimes these people are taking over where Jim Henson and where just wrecking the past. Mark Hamill, the guy that played Luke Skywalker. They had it on film. He came out. He said, "Oh God, please don't do this." He was practically in tears. This is not Luke Skywalker. You just ruined the character. You've ruined it. This isn't him. He's like, I mean, if anybody would know, it'd be the guy that spent literally a huge chunk of the 80s and 90s playing the character. No, they weren't going to listen to him. Of course, they got him. They got him under control, got him back on the leash, back on the plantation. They want the world to begin with them. This is the root of the left. They want the world to begin with them. That's why they're always, quote unquote, remaking other people's classic works. This is why they're always redoing and re this and re that. Just taking old franchises and rebooting them that never needed rebooting. Now I'm going to go off. I'm going to go off the track here. I'm going to go off the plantation here a little bit. I will say this: I liked the new RoboCop way better than I liked the original. The new RoboCop movie, the first RoboCop movie was basically a parody. The first RoboCop movie was basically a parody of the action sci-fi hero cliches of the 80s. Of the time, and if you watch it, it was very, very snarky, very, very, it was very, very, very heavy on, very heavy-handed on the parodies of the Reagan era. Of course, you get the new one pretty much tries to take the Mickey out of the Trump era and fails, but the rest of them, for the most part, it's a much better make. It's a much better version of. It's a much better version. The new RoboCop, the effects are impressive, but the new RoboCop is more relatable, more, well, for lack of a better word, human. The drama and the emotion and the human side of it aren't just brush strokes they added in after the fact, or as a side issue like a plate of fries. It's integral to the story, and it's much better made, if you ask me, altogether. They need some pimp slapping they were trying to diss the terror war. You remember uh, the new RoboCop came out at the same time at the war in Iraq and the Afghanistan and the general terror war was still going on, and it was a grossly, and in some regards, grossly unsubtle about it. But the same could be said of the original, that it was a rather unsubtle, backhanded slap at the Reagan era. Save that. But you could see that there were people in there. They were more interested in making the movie deeper, more interesting, more in more of a about. They were trying to make a better story. There were people involved trying to make a better story. That weren't. It's almost like two different groups of people were working on the thing. One of them was trying to turn it into a. One of them was trying to make a much better and more involved version of RoboCop, and somebody else was trying to piggyback an anti-Bush message on the back. Shouldn't have said Trump era, should have said Bush era, but you know what I mean. I think that's about what I'm going to be able to squeeze out of it there. I'm going to save that. Make it a dark blue suit. Oh, no. should be, I don't know. No, I'll think that over. I just... Getting a proper red or brown in here is a little difficult. I've said this before. I'm colorblind. I'm partially colorblind, so I have a little. When you get down to more muted colors, I have trouble distinguishing them. Makes it aggravating, you know. I have trouble telling muted browns, grays, and browns and grays and greens apart. I don't know. Slow artist. See if I can speed things up. There are days. There are days. I would give just about anything to go back to being 30 years old. Just, you know, just 10 years younger. 10 years. What I'd give just to be 10 years younger. back when I was so full of energy, and I'd love to go back. Well, most of being old is wishing you could go back and do things over and do it right. Because I guarantee you, I don't care who you are, unless you're Jesus himself. You're sitting there you're sitting there right now thinking of something you would have liked to have changed about your own past. Something, at least 100 different things you would have liked to have changed. Because it's just how people are. Forgot the tail. Let me see. I gotta see if a Wolverine has a tail. Yes, a Wolverine has a tail. There's a foofy tail. There's a foofy bone tail. That'll work. There we go. And we save this puppy. And then we ship it. Mail it. Whatever. Email it. Zippity doo da, zippity hey, ba 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 da ba da ba da da. It's fun trying to stay comfortable as the year winds down. Temperature bouncing all over the flippin' place. Let's see now, Gmail. Okay, Mr. Charles Kramer, we are sending you your Wolverine. One Wolverine. How'd you like to open that mail? That's one down. Oh, damn. I'd blame it on not getting enough vitamin. Right now I'm feeling like I want to crawl in a hole and pull the lid in after me, and never come back out. So all I want to do is just sleep and just never wake up, never get up, never have to just more tired than tired, I want to blame, I could probably blame, I want to blame it on not getting enough vitamin D or something. That'd be nice. That'd be a nice solution, wouldn't it? There's all these people. Oh, you just need more vitamin D. You need more sun. You need more rain. You need more. Dirt. I don't know. I don't know where that came from. Just dirt. You need to get out and smell the soil. Yeah. And we don't know how to deal with feeling bad. And no, don't get me wrong on this. I'm not saying we all need to learn to tough it out. No. In fact, what I'm saying is the exact opposite. Is that all the BS we throw around about advice we give people who feel sad or depressed or tired or we throw all this advice around, and you got people say, oh, you need to tough it out. You need to be a real man like back in the day, And then there are other people who say, you need to find these, you need to get, you need to get in touch with your more spiritual side, and, or they'll say, or there will people be saying that, oh, your problem is that you have vitamin deficiency. And all sorts of, and sometimes they're right. That's the problem. Once in a while they'll turn out to be right. There'll be some guy with like grievous lack of vitamin B12 or something, and he'll take a pill and suddenly his whole life will turn around. Or there'll be some person that look, and you got these hardcore types. Oh, they don't need all these medicines for depression. It turns out that there are people with actual chemical problems in the brain. And there are a lot of them, and they start taking like go with the Flomax or something, and the next thing you know, they're actually doing better. And yeah, and we're all running around. We all have a solution, and the problem is so few of them work for so few people. I know one thing that would help me personally is if I could start. If I have been out of church. I have not been a member of a church in literal years now. I can know, I'm my physical condition makes it problematic. In fact, almost impossible for me to go attend at a church, or even to be delivered to a church. And I do not want to appear in public looking the way I do. Because nobody wants to be a circus freak. Let's be blunt. And you come wheeling into a wheelchair in a church. It's like the balloon goes up, It's like you suddenly become the special religious issue of the day. Allow us to pray for your well-being, brother. I've seen it happen. And when everybody's so delighted that the little 99-year-old woman manages to hobble to her pew on her walker. Oh, let's give her a round of applause. It's so wonderful that she's always been able to attend. Like, part of me is going, yeah, that is great. But another part of me is going, yeah, that is so theatrical. And me, I want to come in, sit, and judge me as you will. I want to come in. I want to sit in the back pew and quietly attend the service, and then quietly leave. I don't know if that's wrong of me or not. So, even if I would have to go to darn silly lengths to attend a regular, attend a Sunday service on a regular basis, and it would become it would become a farce, and that's held me back. Maybe I should be more like the man who had his friends. They carried him to see Jesus on a stretcher, and they dug a hole through the roof to lower him in just to speak to him. And it wasn't because he was wanting to be healed either. Not of anything physical. I'm like, I literally cannot. I literally physically cannot fit in a vehicle. Not because I'm that fat, but because my legs are that malformed. My legs will not fit between the seat I'm in and the seat in front of me. And getting in and out of a van or a truck requires a ladder, and even in the last time I rode in a van, it was almost impossible fit. And I ended up accidentally tearing open my leg. Tore open a cyst or something like that. And they, I told you about that. I went to the bank to open my bank account, open a new bank, set up a bank account so I could start doing business properly online. And I called up the taxi company. Told me to send them a big van out here to pick me up, and they sent out a minivan. And the biggest thing they had was a minivan. And I go in, I get in there. I just barely managed to squeeze my legs in. And when I get out into the hospital, out of the thing, and I'm standing there in the lobby of the bank, getting ready to fill out some paperwork and stuff, waiting for my turn. And suddenly somebody points out, "Sir, your legs bleed." I had bled all over the floor of the lobby. And not, not just a little trail of blood. I mean splatters of blood, gobbets of blood. Blood and the lymph fluid in my legs on the floor. They had to shut down the lobby. They had to call out a special cleanup crew to clean it up, sanitize it, and They even ended up calling an ambulance to come out, and basically they came out there and they bandaged my leg and sent me on my way. Because by the time they had gotten out there, my leg had stopped bleeding more or less. It's just basically just a little pocket of lymph. It was disgusting. And that was just going to the bank. I ended up having to come back later, almost an hour later, and ended up having to sit out because it would have been too much of an effort to get me out of the van into the bank to sit down and fill out all the paperwork and then come back out and climb back into the van. It was just that much work. So I sat down in there in the van. The lady in the bank, I asked the guy driving, could you ask her to bring the stuff in out here to me? And she brought the bank materials out to me. So I signed it in, sat there in the van and filled it out, and the taxi, and filled it out there. She's probably glad I didn't come there and desecrate her front lobby again. Welcome to my life, Okay, it is 10 o'clock. It's a short night, so, and a couple of folks are having to drop off to get some sleep. God bless them. I'm gonna go ahead and call it a night. Didn't at least I managed to get one commission done. That's one something. I'm gonna call it a night. I'm getting a little bummed out, and I think I'm just a little run down. Y'all take care of yourselves, okay? Say a prayer for me if you get a chance. God knows I could use a miracle or 20. Y'all have a good night. God bless you.